Review music's an impossible task. Ever since the days when I used to peruse the pages of New Musical Express or Melody Maker, it was apparent that translating musical experience from the auditory sense to the written page meant that an awful lot was lost in translation. Half the time I didn't have a clue what I was reading, and I'm quite sure the journalists themselves didn't really have a clue what they were writing. Much of it seemed to be political opinion or poetry format. Bugger all to do with the music. What I wanted to know is, was it any good? And the answer, in the case of Godspunk 12, is yes. Go and buy it now. Ever since Stone Age Man realised that rhythm could be attained from banging two clams together, music has filled the world, and there are some great, fine clam bangers to be found on this little collection. Track 1, Sanitised, Howl on the Typewriter. This is the first of 5 contributions that they've got on this collection, and to my mind it describes the hidden terrors of children's television. Even our good friend Mr. Saville gets a shout out. It's a fun start to the album, but there's just a dead edge of danger to it. One thing, it's great to hear the good old Casio VO1 again. Martin's Gone. Unit. It's the first of no fewer than 11 Unit tracks on the disc. Their online discography confirms that these guys are prolific. Thrash punk. Angry Young Men, which is certainly suggested by the sleeve notes. It's 3-chord thrash and manic keys. To me it's very reminiscent of Crass. Samba Savara, it's track 3. Now this is real classic samba. This will get you moving. Got a little bit of a digital edge. Can you imagine Leela Downs with orchestral manoeuvres in the dark? It's really quite dreamy. I like it. Unit's back again. Male Slag. Punk reminiscences of past sexual conquests. Squid Bullets by Data's Cat. They ought to have a prize for one of the best band names of all time. Squid Bullets, this is Jethro Tull on speed. Great rhythms, great keys, great electric guitar. It's good driving music. And every now and again I was getting an occasional flash of Rick Wakeman. Don't ask me why. But partway through it suddenly segues into this delightful flamenco guitaring. And then suddenly it descends back into just complete electric mayhem. I love it. It's probably my favourite track on the album. These Sounds, our good friend Nilby knows. It opens with a sample that asks, do you know what you want to do with these sounds? And the answer is some great, albeit brief, digital noodling. It's good stuff. Subhuman Debris by Unit. More anger here. These guys just do not sound happy at all. A Short Unprepared Speech. A return of Howl in the Typewriter. This one's the electronic doodles with overlaid samples, which reminded me of Michael Moorcock's input on the Hawkwind Space Ritual. Well worth a listen. The only offering from Dim Disciple, if I've got the name right there. The Wiring. It's got a regular drum track overlaid with synthesizer sounds, and these added vocals, compliments of some guy that sounds a bit like Stephen Hawking, expounding the advantages of taking psychedelics. That sounds good to me. Unit's back again to answer the question, why Russians rarely smile in a minute and a half of crass thrash. Loss by XXIIG. I'm sure that's pronounced differently really. You got 6 minutes of electronic melancholia. There's no doubt as to how this track got its title. Its haunting sadness just washes over you. It's hardly uplifting, but it's strangely beautiful. Somewhat jarring edit in the last 30 seconds seems to kill it for me, but it perhaps suggests that all loss is transient. Unit again. For Nick Wong. The sadness of loss is suddenly replaced with the punk spaz out that really gets your blood flowing again. Track 13, Derek's Briefcase. Howl in the Typewriter. This is a real crazy sample fest culled from radio and TV. It's not really a tune, but more of an amalgam of thought processes. The consequences of subliminal impregnation are kind of scary. Take it easy, guys. Oomba Goomba. Nil by nose. Another all too brief spasm of digital folly. Units again. Vita Odiosa. This sounds like a 3-chord thrash in a digital aviary. Pipe, slippers and a basket of flute. Good old Data's cat again. Back to the tuney dancey vibes on this one from the Trekkie feline. Forget bass and drum, this is flute and drum. James Galway never sounded this good. Nor perhaps at all for that matter. The Fishman. Howl in the Typewriter. Cautionary tale of superhuman misunderstanding. The Beatles have us believe that the Eggman became the walrus. Now I know that we are all fishmen. Back to the familiar sounds of Unit. There's no lyrics on this one, it's just mad thrash, and all the better for it. Sans moi, the large veiny members. I wish I could speak French on this one, but maybe not, as the French vocals on this synthesised mashup are musical in themselves, and to understand what they're saying will probably spoil the illusion a bit. Have all the evil forces been vanquished? Ça prend pour moi. BBC Bastards. The Unit boys are back again with some real pedal to the metal stuff, but it's all too brief. Let's Eat Rotting Flesh by the Flesh Eaters. It's no problem guessing what the inspiration for this track is, as the opening sample has obviously been taken from Romero's original Night of the Living Dead. It's got a great 50s bass beat accompanied by some real horror movie type vocals. Scary stuff. Unit back again with Conspiracy. More punky thrash, but this time with vocals. God, these guys really are angry. The Nightmare of Childhood. Howl in the Typewriter. Howl dive into the musical toy box for a cautionary tale about getting old. Listen well. It's got some great vocals on this one. F.U. Stephen Barnes. This track should carry a parental guidance warning, as it contains multiple uses of the F word. I think it's fucking brilliant. Go ahead, Unit. What's this? Our friends have just gone all tuneful. Vocals over a Joy Division type backbeat put me in mind of the bastard offspring of David Byrne, Ian Jury, maybe Ivor Cutler watching from the sidelines. I like it. Ballock. Nil by nose. Ambient ethereal tinkering from the great digital noodle meister. It's almost wistful. Song for Eric Cooper by Unit. This is rather an epic tale of schoolboy memories of bullying and closet secrets. This could be a concept album, but it's all too brief. Final track on the album, track 28, The Fishman in Derek's Briefcase. Howl on the Typewriter. This is obviously a bit of a reprieve of their earlier contributions, and it's a great mashup of samples. The Fishman almost meets his comeuppance in the playground on this one. So, such a compilation as Godspunk 12, it's always going to be difficult, as there's such a diverse ragbag of genres and themes. It can be a little bit jarring and uncomfortable to listen to in one sitting. But there's a lot here that tempts further listening and investigation. The final track would have us believe that the conversation is over in 2 minutes. But there's stuff going on in the silence that follows. And at 6 minutes, we're offered a delightful recommendation to tune our ears to the wonderful Godspunk 11. On the basis of Godspunk 12, I have to say, I'm sorely tempted.